beautiful colours on the crested barbet. They always look slightly scruffy though, despite the amazing colours. And there's a woodpecker there on that tree. We get 4 species of woodpecker out here. Judging from the quietness of that one, I would say it's probably a cardinal woodpecker, which is the smallest woodpecker species we get here. The bennets and the bearded. But the cardinal is the smallest, and that's quite a gentle tapping that I can hear. Right, we'll carry on a little bit. You can find those impala that were shouting earlier. Michigan would like me to tell you a little bit about the books I've written. Gail, I've been contributed to 3 books. The first one was called Whatever You Do, Don't Run. And that's a collection of sort of real-life stories from game rangers. And they're sort of a humorous look at life in the bush. And the title comes from the last thing you say to somebody before you take them on a walk. And that is, should we surprise an animal, whatever you do, don't run. Because we're not faster than anything else out here. So we stand still. And the second one was one called A Year in the Wild, which is a fiction book about 2 brothers who moved to live in a 5-star South African safari lodge. And it's all about the behind-the-scenes goings-on at these lodges and the beauty of the bush and the wilderness around. And that's got more leopard tracks on the road here. That's more, it's based on my experiences, but it's a fiction story, comedy fiction story. And the second one is called Back to the Bush, or the third one's called Back to the Bush, which is a sequel to A Year in the Wild. And again, about the 2 brothers and their experiences in the 5-star South African game lodge. If you want to read them, you can find them on Amazon. I think the British site, though. So if you want to download the digital version, just go to the amazon.co.uk. Oh, and you also wanted to know if I would play the guitar at a fireside chat. It's possible that I might. I'm not sure, but I'd be very happy to. Cross over to Mark now, who seems to have found a hippo out of the water, which is unusual this time of the day. So we're going to cross quickly over to him.
Welcome back to Wendy. We're on Arathusa. We're at Arathusa Dam. And this little baby decided to lie down. It was standing in the sun when we got here. I'll give you 3 guesses what it is. And also, there's a blacksmith lapwing coming up towards it. And it snapped at the lapwing. The little white bird. A pied wagtail on that little island. You can just see a tiny little white bird in the bottom left of your screen. The bigger black and white bird is the blacksmith lapwing. Now, looking back towards the lodge itself, there's an antelope drinking. That is an interesting, no, not that one. That's a different one that I was thinking of. No, it's not. That's the female and the calf, the lamb of the one I'm seeing. Well done. Brian knows best. I think it's warmer out of the water for this little child. I need to turn that off. Mom is in the water. A goose flying in has disturbed the resident pair of geese, and now they're taking off after it. Both of the couple. I think that goose that came in didn't know what was waiting for it here. So where are we? We've on this little baby. There was an antelope and her lamb that crossed the dam wall. They're actually actively chasing the hippo, I think, those 2 plovers. Maybe they're nesting there, but they've actually pushed this baby hippo back into the water. They've intimidated it. See, at first I thought the plovers were there because they might get a chance to get some insects if they hang out with the hippo when it's walking around. Very interesting. Now, there's the male of the 2 antelope that crossed the dam wall. He's a little bit far away and looks like he's up to his knees in water, feeding on maybe the Ludwigia. his knees and elbows. Any idea what antelope that is? Now that we've seen all three, male, female, and the lamb. Ram, ewe, and lamb. I asked a question earlier. Some of the older viewers, the longer viewers, I mean it that way, not older, as in wiser. No, I'm digging a hole now. You know what I mean, viewers. And we had a couple of answers. One of them was to see me changing a tire. That, I hope, is, well, it's not tempt fate here. Tires are pretty good at the moment. The other one was to see me walk barefoot. I was thinking more in terms of what have you seen out here that you would like us to show the viewers, the new viewers who are coming in. They're seeing this for the first time and they might be a little discouraged because there are not that many animals out today. There are a few. It's cold. It's so cold you're not going to see me barefoot this morning. My feet are encased this morning. Buffalo weaver nests. And time to move along. Try and find some sign of these ellies. There have been so many elephants moving about. It's hard to tell who's gone where. And how old do I think the baby hippo would be? The elephants came from here. A few months old, I'd say. Maybe 3 months. There's some viewers that know when that hippo was born. 4 months ago, January I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like some elephants left that way. To Sandy in New York. It's a city that never sleeps. Sandy wants to know if the dam ever dries up in winter. I don't think this one would, Sandy. I think there are some of them that would. because they're small enough. Maybe not so much in winter, but towards the end of the dry season, let's call it a dry season, since it doesn't get as cold as New York, that's for sure. Some of the smaller ones by the end of September, October, going into November, if there hasn't been enough rain, there are some that will eventually dry up. Twin dams have the potential to get very low. Gari Dam has the potential to dry up. Purfle's Dam probably going to hold out because it's quite deep. But of course, it's never a sure thing when the rains are going to come and what kind of rain they are going to be with the current inconsistency with weather, to put it politically correct, diplomatic. We don't really know what weather is going to do these days. Now wasn't really copying it. Now you're breaking up last station to go again. Quite coming through on the drive channel. And it looks like some of these tracks have come this way. Here, in fact. Seem to be zigzagging on and off the road.
Welcome back to Giga, everyone. We've managed to find some elephants. I say that like we should take credit for it, but actually they just kind of stumbled across our path. Welcome back to Giga. We've stumbled across some elephants, a nice herd, and rather relieved, given the quietness of the morning. It is funny how these things work out, but it's a beautiful herd of elephants just browsing quietly through the woodland here, and we'll stay with them for a while and see what they do. They seem very relaxed, which is great. Always astounded me how quietly an animal this big can move through woodland like this, and how such an enormous creature can disappear. And that's, you might wonder why they're grey. People often think that khaki is the best colour for a ranger to be wearing. But if you look how quickly that grey colour disappears in the bush, you can see what a brilliant camouflaging tactic it is to be grey. I'm not going to move off just yet. We've got some others to our left, and I don't want to split the herd apart. Oh, there's a beautiful animal here. Very relaxed. Like a young cow. Incredibly dexterous that trunk is, and how she uses her foot in conjunction. She's eating something called a buffalo thorn, and it's actually quite a nice spinach substitute if you're hungry out here. Okay, I'm just going to move the car a little bit down the road. First thing you do when you see elephants on the right is you look left. You try and keep the herd together as much as possible. They don't like to be split apart. There they go, wandering off in there. I'm definitely not going to chase them through there. Let's see if we can't get a view. There's one coming up on our right-hand side now. You can see they've gone very quiet. The noise of the vehicle is possibly a little threatening to them. And now you can see they're starting to move again and feed. So I suspect what happened was that the revving of the engine and possibly the smell, the matriarch gave one of an infrasonic signal, and they all stopped moving at the same time. And now you can see they've relaxed again, and they're beginning to feed. They're quite selective about what they eat, and their buffalo thorn seems to be the order of the day. The cow just coming into your picture now is pulling buffalo thorn. She was just toying with the idea of some red bush willow, but buffalo thorn seems to be the breakfast of choice. And if you were to rub your hands down a buffalo thorn, you'd shred the skin. So the toughness on the inside of an elephant's trunk is quite phenomenal. Just going to sneak a little bit further down here. Try not to start the engine. There we go. That's lovely. You can see just a little bit unhappy with us. but not very. Let's see if we can get a better view from this angle here. There we go. Okay. Again, buffalo thorn. Breakfast today. Donna's in Niagara Falls in Canada, and she wants to know, are elephants my favorite animal, and if not, what is? Donna, I don't have a specific favorite animal. I really just enjoy the wild and the creatures that live in it. I do find elephants amazing, though, especially how they seem to be able to pick up on mood, and they have a very kind of special connection, I think, with humans if you're able to connect with them on some level. And certainly these elephants are very relaxed, and I really enjoy watching them just behave in a natural way. And it gives me a tremendous sense of calm to watch them feeding quietly like this, completely unthreatened. And I like to think that there's some form of whatever you want, however you want to define it, but they are definitely giving me a sense of peace and calm right now. Now, there's a whole herd of elephants in the thicket, and we can just hear one or two slightly rustlings in the leaves behind us, but otherwise they're completely silent. That buffalo thorn is having a rough time. Oh. You can see now that elephant is basically destroying that tree. She's now snapped off the main trunk, and she'll probably eat some of the bark and some of the leaves, but you can see how an elephant will transform a landscape, or how a lot of elephants will transform a landscape, and why they're such an important species in wild African areas. People often ask the question of, how many elephants can the area hold, and there are no definitive answers to that question, but you can see how the absence or presence of elephants will markedly change the vegetation structure of an area. Janet in Boston, and apparently quite a few others, are asking, where are we right now? I'm assuming you mean on the reserve, so I'll give a macro picture first. We're obviously in the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, 3.5 million hectares. Look at that glorious animal. Then we're in the Sabi Sands, which is about 60,000 hectares of the Greater Kruger National Park. And within the Sabi Sands, we're on a reserve called Juma. And within Juma, we're not far from our headquarters, probably about 400 meters as the virtual starling flies. I hope that answers your question, Janet. have a look at us. Let's keep following him. Just saying that there's a waterhole quite close, and they might go down to drink there. That would make sense. So I think we'll leave him in there and head down to the water and see what we can see there. The rest of the herd may have headed off there while he played with us. Today is Elephant Day. Certainly not much else day. And Mark has got another herd of elephants. And so we're going to cross over to him. And then, while we go and wait at the water.
Welcome back, everyone. And welcome to Arathusa again. I've caught up with the earlies, finally, but I'm afraid I can't keep up with them because they're marching through the bushveld. That's quite dense, quite thick, and I can't go in a straight line like they can. And when it gets thick like this and I start crunching over dead branches, they don't seem to be reacting at all. If I could just somehow get... Unfortunately, we're behind them, and I don't have a road like I have had at other times to drive around in front of them. So maybe we could get to keep crossing. If I get back to the road, if I remember where it is.
Drinking. I mean, he's kind of pretending to drink. The displacement behavior, sucking the trunk like that, is also something of the displacement behavior they exhibit. He's definitely interacting with us. There we go. A bit more of a mouthful that time. Beautiful shot there into the elephant's mouth. You can see when they lift their heads up like that, you can see that the tusks they're in fact incisors. So where your two front teeth come out your mouth, that's what an elephant's tusks are. Here he goes. He decided that he'd like to be with the rest of the herd. Can't even hear his footfalls. He goes. Wasn't that a great sighting? Wonderful to see them, and wonderful to have that level of interaction. We'll carry on a little bit round on the road. Let's see, plenty has come to drink here. Lots of buffalo, lots of elephant dung. Did have some squirrels alarm calling in there, and this this is originally where we thought the leopard was this morning. But nothing. The squirrel seemed to have stopped. From Johannesburg would like to know if we can tell the elephant's mood from the way he holds his tail. In certain circumstances, yes, you can. If an elephant is alarmed and is about to run away or alarmed, they will generally lift the tail up, but not always. So you saw the elephant was showing displacement behavior there, with the foot raised. The tail was fairly flat. When they're very alarmed, they will definitely raise their tails, often just before they run. Have wandered off down into the shade along the drainage line here, and that's probably where they'll spend quite a lot of the day, just feeding quietly through the shade. Don't like to be too hot. Carry on down here, parallel with the drainage line. Let's see if we can't pick up tracks, or perhaps another herd of elephants or some other animals heading down to drink somewhere. Probably find that as he reaches sexual maturity, the matriarch he'll start to get rambunctious like a human being would, like an adolescent boy, and the matriarch won't tolerate that, and she'll eventually chase him out completely, and then he'll go and live on his own, or probably in a small group of similar aged males, and then when he's probably 25 to 30 years old, he's reached his sort of mature mass, and he'll live largely on his own and then just follow herds. for mating opportunities. It's a wonderful herd of impala. You've just seen that ram herding his females into place. Now, what's interesting here is that we've just had so as that ram herds his ewes, and they're going to come down and have a drink, I'm going to say goodbye to you for the rest of the sort of midday. We'll hand over to Mark just now. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for all the great questions. We had quite a quiet drive, but some very interesting discussions, so thanks very much for that. And we'll cross over to Mark now as this beautiful herd of impala moves down to the water to drink.
Hi everyone. Well, those elephants moved off into some very thick bush, and I think at least you managed to get some elephants with James, which was a good thing, because I wasn't able to. The only way to have done it would be to try and press through the bush to get to maybe parallel with them, and I don't think those Lady Ellies would have liked that. I think it would have been a little bit too much bush bashing. And it's getting late, or later in the morning. It's time for us to start heading back to Duma. I want to remind you that this evening, being Sunday evening, we're going to have a fireside chat. Fireside chat at the moment is going to be at 5:30 Central African time, so it's the last half hour of our game drive, as opposed to the usual fireside chat between 6 and 7. Currently, we're using the last half hour of game drive to have a somewhat shortened fireside chat, but just so that we can bring you a fireside chat. For those of us that are staying up at Manyaleti, we have to get back to Manyaleti. There's a curfew, they lock the gates, and we need to get in for that. Thank you to those of you who answered questions. I'll carry on with that at some point. Now, I've been in a really rough patch, signal-wise, when I was looking for those elephants. So I couldn't get to answer some of them. I couldn't get to some of your answers, couldn't get to some of your comments, and I'm sure we can do some more of that. This afternoon it will be Brent and James on drive. I'm going to be preparing for fireside chat, because it's going to be a fireside chat with me, and I think Mr. Fox might join me for a bit towards the end. Preparing for that this afternoon, as well as having a bit of a break while Brent and James will be out on the drive. I hope too, it's going to be warming up a little bit. I hope too that these animals start coming out of the woodwork. It's been a slow morning. As far as game movement is concerned, there hasn't really been that much. I did see a kudu. I did go past, since I was looking for those elephants in the same area, I went past the spot where I found it, an impala that had died. And, well, it gets to be a bigger question, really. There was a bachelier there, and there was a vulture there in the tree. Nothing left of the impala except, well, there was nothing there. The entire stomach had been removed, and the impala was gone. So my guess is that maybe a hyena took the carcass, maybe it had been opened by the vultures and hyena picked it up. Although that's a little bit unusual for hyena to leave something like that. That's more typical of a leopard that's likely to leave something. In fact, the leopard is likely to open up a carcass and remove the stomach, usually bury it or cover it in grasses, and that's to take the carcass away to take it up a tree. So sometimes we don't get answers. Sometimes when we go back to things, we just get more questions. And I hope you're going to send some more questions this afternoon to Brent and to James. Thank you, Thumb. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Final Control. That's Tara and Will. My name is Mark, and I'll see you later this afternoon. Love you, lot. Goodbye, everybody.